Let's be honest, women don't always come back because they miss you. They don't return because they suddenly realize how much you mean to them, and they certainly don't crawl back because they've magically fallen head over heels. The truth is far more complex, and for many men, it's going to sting. Women often come back after no contact due to one powerful force: a loss of control. When you truly cut her off, no calls, no texts, no breadcrumbs, you disrupt her sense of dominance in the relationship. It's as if you've flipped the script and suddenly you're no longer the one chasing. This shift unsettles her because, like anyone, she craves validation. She's used to being the center of attention, the one pulling the strings. When that power disappears, it sparks fear. Fear that you've moved on, that someone else has taken her place, or that she's no longer the prize in your eyes. And here's where it becomes even more controversial. Most women aren't coming back for you. They're coming back for the power they lost. It's not about your personality, looks, or success. It's about how they feel when you're no longer chasing them. The void you create forces them to act. Many men misinterpret this moment. When she reaches out, they think it's love and fall back into old patterns, becoming overly available or confessing feelings. But that's precisely what she wants: to regain the upper hand and reset the dynamic. No contact works, but not because of magic. It's psychology. Understanding the real reasons women return gives you the power not just to get her back, but to decide whether you even want her anymore. When a woman has control over a man, it makes her feel powerful. As long as she dictates the terms of the relationship, whether it's how often you contact her, or how much effort you put into winning her over, she feels secure. But when that power is taken away, she's forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that she no longer holds control. This is where the no-contact rule comes into play. By stopping all chasing, you force her to seek the validation she used to get so easily. She begins to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and whether you miss her. Initially, she might enjoy the space, but over time, her curiosity and insecurity grow. Eventually, she might test the waters, reaching out to see if you'll respond the way she expects. But this isn't necessarily about rekindling a connection. It's about regaining control. Understanding this dynamic allows you to make informed decisions about what you truly want moving forward. It's not about feelings, it's about regaining the power she lost. Take Mark and Sarah, for example. Mark was always the one texting Sarah, making plans, and showing how much he cared. When Sarah stopped putting in effort, Mark kept chasing her, always there to pick up the slack. Then one day, Mark decided to stop. He quit texting, calling, and reacting altogether. Sarah, who had grown accustomed to his constant attention, began to feel the change. Suddenly, she no longer had the upper hand. Weeks later, she reached out, not because she missed him, but to see if he would still chase her. It wasn't about Mark, it was about her need to feel in control again. When you stop chasing, it disrupts the dynamic. For many women, being pursued reinforces their sense of value and desirability. It reassures them that they're the center of your world. But when you stop chasing, it's like flipping a switch in her mind. She's no longer sure where she stands, and that uncertainty drives her crazy. Your attention was her security blanket. Every call, text, or effort you made confirmed her importance. But when you remove yourself from the equation, she feels an emotional void. The silence becomes deafening, forcing her to confront the absence of what she took for granted. Stopping the chase also shifts the balance of power. She's used to being pursued and having you on the defensive. Now she's in unfamiliar territory. Questions like, who is he chasing now? Or, why doesn't he care anymore? Begin to gnaw at her. The thought of you being indifferent becomes unbearable. Consider James and Emily. James always initiated plans, called frequently, and showered Emily with compliments. Emily enjoyed the attention but didn't feel the need to reciprocate, assuming James would always be there. One day, James stopped. He didn't call, text, or engage with her social media. At first, Emily shrugged it off, confident he'd return. But as days turned to weeks, she began questioning everything. Why wasn't James chasing her anymore? She started checking her phone constantly, wondering if he had moved on. Eventually, she reached out using a casual excuse just to see if she could regain his attention. For James, it wasn't about playing games, it was about reclaiming his value and letting Emily see what she had taken for granted. Going no contact shakes a woman's sense of stability in the relationship. Control for her isn't necessarily about manipulation, it's about predictability. When she knows how you'll respond or when you'll reach out, it creates a sense of comfort. Removing that predictability forces her to reassess the dynamic and her feelings about the relationship. It's not just about feelings, it's about the sense of certainty she feels when you show how much you care. Your consistent communication gives her stability, a sense of predictability. But when you stop, that certainty disappears, leaving her uneasy. Think about it. As long as you're available, she knows where she stands. She doesn't have to wonder about your intentions because you're an open book. But once you step back, she's left in a whirlwind of questions. What is he thinking? Has he moved on? Does he still care? These thoughts take over because the predictable rhythm of your attention has vanished. This loss of control is not just unsettling, it's frustrating. She's used to you being dependable, maybe even a little too eager. But now the dynamic has flipped. You're no longer readable, and that unpredictability creates a sense of urgency. Suddenly, the ball is in your court. It's not just about emotions, it's about pride. Nobody likes feeling as though they've lost influence over someone they once controlled. When you go silent, you communicate, without saying a word, that she no longer has control over you. You've taken back the power by refusing to play the game on her terms. This shift creates a paradox for her. On one hand, her pride might resist chasing you because admitting she's lost control isn't easy. On the other hand, the silence you've created eats at her. It sends a clear message that she's no longer your priority, a subtle yet powerful blow to her ego. Whether she realizes it or not, she's driven to re-establish the connection. Not necessarily out of love or longing, but to regain the stability and dominance she once had. This is why so many women come back after no contact. They're not chasing you, they're chasing the sense of control and validation they felt when you were chasing them. One of the most powerful triggers for her to return is the fear of being replaced. When you stop reaching out, it sends a message that you might be moving on, or worse, moving on to someone else. This thought creates a sense of panic. She can handle distance, but the idea of someone else taking her place is unbearable. You've been a focal point for her, and the possibility of you moving on so easily makes her question her own worth. Even if she convinces herself she's fine or tells herself she doesn't need you, deep down, the fear of being replaced stings. It's not just about losing you, it's about losing the position she once held in your life. That fear becomes a powerful motivator, driving her to reconnect in an effort to reclaim what she believes was hers. Taking control of the situation, you must shift the dynamic. Being too available to her sends the wrong message. It shows that you have no life outside of her, that she's your whole world. And that's not attractive to a woman. She doesn't want something that's easy to obtain. When you're constantly there at her beck and call, it signals desperation, and that desperation erodes your value. It makes you predictable. Predictability, in this case, isn't a good thing. It makes you seem unimportant. You're not a challenge, not someone she has to work for, and that lack of challenge is a huge turnoff. The key isn't to play games, it's about having your own life, your own passions, your own independence. When you show her that your life isn't revolving around her, she starts to take notice. That's when the attraction shifts, because now she's no longer in control. She's not the only one you're focused on. Women crave men with purpose, with their own identity. When you show that you have a life outside of her, she feels the pull to reconnect. Not because she's just trying to maintain control, but because now she sees something she wants to win back. So stop being so available. Stop waiting for her to text first. Start focusing on your own goals, your own plans. Let her see that your time isn't spent anxiously waiting for her. Let her see you as someone who has his own life. And when that happens, she'll start to wonder what she's missing out on, and she'll be the one reaching out to you. The thrill of pursuing someone, the excitement that comes from chasing what feels just out of reach, it gives them a sense of control, of purpose. But what they don't like is losing that chase. Losing the game, so to speak. Once she feels she has you completely, the spark starts to fade. When you're easy to get, she doesn't feel the same need to keep proving her value. The attention becomes predictable, and predictability isn't exciting. It doesn't challenge her. It doesn't make her feel alive. Women want a man who makes them work for his attention. Not because they crave manipulation, but because they thrive on feeling like they've won something worth having. It's the challenge that keeps things interesting. The chase makes her feel alive, empowered, and intrigued. But if you make yourself too available, if you let her have you whenever she wants, she'll start to lose interest. She'll no longer feel the thrill of earning your attention. Instead, she'll feel bored and uninspired. The chase, which once made her feel in control, becomes dull when she no longer has to work for it. Here's the truth. Women love to feel they've earned a man's attention. It's not just about wanting to win. It's about feeling valued and wanted in a way that goes beyond just being available. And when she starts losing that chase, it triggers a competitive instinct. She doesn't want to be the one who walked away empty-handed. She wants to be the one who won. So stop making it too easy for her. Stop being the guy who's always there. Make her work a little. Create some distance. Let her feel like she has to prove herself to you. That's when she'll start to feel the pull again, the desire to win you back. Because deep down she wants to chase, but she hates the idea of losing. And when she feels that challenge again, she'll come back to you, this time, not just to regain control, but to win something valuable. Deep inside her, she starts to appreciate you not because you're easily accessible, but because you have your own life, your own purpose, and you're not chasing her out of desperation. Your absence makes her realize that you're not constantly at her beck and call, that you have your own world, your own priorities, and that you don't need her to define your worth. This space, this pause in your attention, makes you more intriguing, not less. It gives her time to reflect on what she misses, your presence, your attention, but more importantly, the fact that you're not hanging around waiting for her to give you validation. When you're always available, it can come across as if you have nothing else going on, no higher purpose, and that turns her off. But when you create distance, it forces her to see that you're not just another guy waiting in the wings, ready to be there at her convenience. Instead, she begins to wonder if she's losing you, if you're slipping away. That space you create, it allows her to appreciate you from afar, and the more she realizes you're not desperate, the more she starts to see you as someone valuable, someone who has things happening in his own life. She doesn't want someone who's clingy. She wants someone whose attention she has to earn, someone who has boundaries, confidence, and a life outside of her. So, remember, your absence isn't about ignoring her. It's about showing her that you have other things to focus on, and that she isn't the center of your universe. And when she starts to see that, she'll come to value you in a whole new way. She begins to feel the absence inside her, and that void serves as a reminder that she needs to step up if she wants to keep you. The moment you stop acting like you're desperate to please her, that's when she starts to think, maybe I need to put in more effort here. Here's the twist. Your absence makes her realize your value. When you're not constantly around, she starts to see that you're someone who doesn't need her to feel validated. You're a man who is comfortable on his own, has his own life, and isn't relying on her for happiness. This kind of confidence sparks attraction, not someone who drops everything just to stay in her orbit. So don't be afraid to take a step back. Don't fear the silence. Your absence will show her that you're not desperate, and it will make her wonder what she might be missing. When she returns, it's often to test if you'll chase again. Have you ever wondered why she comes back after you've pulled away? It's not always because she misses you or wants to reconnect. Sometimes it's about seeing if you'll pursue her again. Think about it. When you stop chasing, when you step back and allow her to come to you, it creates a shift. This shift makes her question your level of interest, and it makes her wonder if you'll pursue her once more or if she's truly lost your attention for good. It's not always a conscious decision on her part, but it's a common pattern many women follow. Once you stop putting in the effort, once you stop reaching out first, something happens inside her. She starts to wonder, does he still care? Is he still interested in me? This is when she might make the move to come back. But the real question is, will you chase again? Will you return to the same pattern of neediness and over-attachment? Or will you continue to maintain your emotional independence and let her earn your attention? Let's be honest. Women love knowing they're wanted. When they stop feeling pursued, when they realize you're not hanging on every word they say, they can become insecure. This is where the testing begins. She'll come back. Whether it's through a text, a call, or just a casual conversation, she'll reach out to see if you'll start chasing her again, just like before. But here's the thing. If you chase her again after she tests you, you'll lose your power. Women want men who are emotionally stable, men who are secure enough in themselves to not jump at every chance to win her back. If you prove that you're willing to drop everything just to keep her interested, you're essentially showing that you don't have anything better going on, and that makes you less attractive. So, when she comes back to test you, don't fall into the trap of giving her the attention she expects. Instead, show her that you're still living your life, still pursuing your goals, and still emotionally independent. This will make her question her actions and will keep her wondering if she's truly worth the chase. She returns because it's about her ego, not love. Here's a truth that might sting a little. She comes back because it's about her ego, not genuine affection. Don't get me wrong, she might have feelings for you, but those aren't the driving force behind her decision to return. What's really going on is that her ego needs validation. When you pull away, when you stop chasing and stop giving her constant attention and validation, it forces her to confront a painful reality. You're not chasing her anymore, and that's a hit to her pride. Think about it. When she had you around all the time, she felt secure in her place in your life. She felt desired, special, and important. But once you stopped chasing, once you gave her space and pulled back, that's when she started feeling something she's not used to, uncertainty. She wonders if you're still into her. She starts questioning whether she's still the center of your world, and that's when her ego kicks in. Her return is a reaction to that uncertainty. It's not always about love, it's about proving to herself that she still has control over your attention. She wants to know if she can still pull you back. She comes back to see if she can still make you want her, to test whether she still has the power to turn your world upside down with just a look or a word. It's a clear sign for her to gauge her hold over you, to see if she's still important enough to make you drop everything and chase after her. This isn't just an innocent coincidence, it's a calculated move, a way for her to assert her influence and remind herself of the control she once had. The cold truth is that women love the feeling of being desired, and when you stop chasing, when you stop putting her on a pedestal, it forces her to confront a hard reality, that she might have lost that power over you. She begins to realize that she no longer holds the same sway in your life, and that uncertainty unsettles her. So she returns to test the waters, to see if you're still vulnerable to her charm, to see if you'll fall for her all over again. But don't get it twisted. Her coming back doesn't always mean she's ready for a relationship or that she's even in love with you. It often means she's driven by something much more surface level, her ego. What really matters to her is whether she can still feel important to you, whether she can still provoke that desire and attention. It's about feeling wanted and validated, not about building something meaningful. The truth is, women don't come back to you because they miss you. They come back because they miss the power they once held over you. When you disappear, when you stop chasing, they realize they're no longer the center of your world. They begin to feel that distance, and that's when they start wondering, do I still have the ability to make him care? Do I still have that same influence? That thought triggers their ego, pushing them to return, not out of love, but out of a need to regain control. So the real question becomes, will you let her? Will you fall back into the pattern of chasing, or will you stay strong, emotionally independent, and show her that you're not the type of man who gets pulled around by her ego? When you stop chasing, when you create that distance, it shifts the dynamic. It makes her question her own actions and motives. Did she really let you go, or did you just decide to walk away? If you've ever been in a situation where a woman returned after you pulled away, share your experiences in the comments. I want to hear about it. I'll personally reach out to connect and discuss what went wrong, what went right, and how you can keep your power moving forward. Stop chasing and start living your life. Your worth is not tied to her attention. She'll always come back when she knows she can't have you, but it's entirely up to you whether you let her stay. Don't fall back into that cycle of neediness and over-attachment. Realize that your emotional well-being isn't dependent on someone else's attention or validation. When you maintain that emotional independence, you set a foundation that allows you to approach relationships from a place of strength, not weakness. It shows that you're not desperate for validation, nor do you need someone to constantly affirm your worth. You understand that your happiness doesn't hinge on whether she chooses to be in your life. You know your own value, and you know that it doesn't diminish just because someone steps away. Women, deep down, are drawn to men who are emotionally stable, who have lives of their own, and who aren't consumed by their desire to please others. When you pull back and stop chasing, you signal to her that you're self-sufficient, that you have your own goals, your own pursuits, and your own life. And in doing so, you flip the dynamic of the relationship. Suddenly, she starts to wonder, am I still the one he's thinking about? Is he truly okay on his own? That uncertainty stirs something inside her. It makes her question whether she still holds the same importance in your life. When you stay true to this path, when you let her come to you, you send a message that you are confident, not in need. And that, ironically, is what sparks genuine attraction. It's not the man who jumps at every opportunity to win her back, who scrambles to keep her engaged. It's the man who stands firm, who lets things unfold naturally, who knows that his worth isn't tied to anyone else's actions. This realization, the realization that you're not desperate, forces her to rethink her own position. She starts to see you in a new light. You're not the man who falls at her feet. You're someone who walks his own path. You're self-assured, centered, and clear in your identity. That's the kind of man who intrigues her, who stirs her curiosity, and who ultimately makes her question whether she's still capable of drawing you in. And when she does come back, whether through a text, a call, or even just a casual conversation, don't fall into the trap of immediately giving her the attention she craves. Instead, remain grounded. Continue living your life, pursuing your goals, and showing her that your world doesn't revolve around her. Keep her wondering, does he still care? Is he still as invested as before? When you maintain that emotional distance, you keep the power in your hands. You don't have to chase. You don't have to scramble to prove anything. Your absence creates the space for her to reflect and evaluate her own actions. It shows her that you're secure enough in yourself to not constantly seek her out. And that, in turn, makes her realize that maybe, just maybe, she's missing something. So the key here is to resist the urge to immediately respond, to immediately try to win her over again. Let her come to you. Let her feel the absence of your attention and presence. Give her the chance to question whether she's truly lost you or whether she still has the ability to pull you back in. Because the truth is, if she's coming back, it's not necessarily out of love, it's out of ego. Women love to feel desired. And when that attention fades, when they realize they can't have you at their beck and call, they begin to feel insecure. They start to doubt whether they still hold that power over you. And so they test, by coming back, to see if they still have that same influence. Will you still chase? Will you still be pulled into their orbit? But if you resist, if you stand firm in your self-respect and emotional independence, it changes everything. It sends a clear message that you won't be controlled by their ego. It shows that you're not vulnerable to their whims, and that makes you incredibly attractive. Because in the end, women respect strength, confidence, and independence. Not neediness, not desperation. And that's when you truly take control of your own life, when you stop chasing and start living on your own terms. You realize your worth isn't tied to anyone else's actions. Your happiness comes from within, not from how others perceive you. Once you embrace this mindset, you'll find that relationships shift. They become more balanced, more fulfilling, and ultimately more rewarding. Thank you for watching, and as always, this is the Stoic approach to life. Standing firm, knowing your own worth, and living with purpose. Let her come back if she wishes, but it's your decision whether you let her stay. The power is in your hands.